Hello, everyone, and welcome to the SMARKETING Show this week. We're so happy to have Brenda Pearson, Rick Lambert with us. Brenda is a Chief Happiness Officer. Does it get better than that, Brenda?
It really doesn't. I've always wanted to be a Chief Happiness Officer. So yeah, I actually just created my own company and I'm a self-proclaimed Chief Happiness Officer.
And you're proving it with that Blue Jays jersey in the background. Even happy still. Good way to go.
Even happy still. Yeah, don't get me started about how I had game 3 tickets and was psyched to go to the game the next day, but that's more on that another time.
Awesome. So Brenda, you have mastered the imposter syndrome and self-doubt thing that's going around. I mean, it's always been there, I think, but now we're really talking about it more and exposing it. Can you talk to that a little bit and let's sort of dive into that today?
Yeah, thanks so much, Rick and Melissa, for having me back as a recurring guest on the show. Absolutely, I have a deep passion for self-doubt, the imposter syndrome. To be honest, I don't sit on this high pedal of having it all figured out. I'm always a work in progress, as I believe everybody is. But during my time when I worked at Ivy, so I worked at Ivy Business School, and for those that don't know, it's part of Western University, and it's a top tier, globally recognized business school. And so the students that I got to work with, and I coached over thousands of these students, there was this theme that kept on rearing its ugly head, this fear of failure, self-doubt, almost this self-sabotaging behaviors. And often it manifested in this imposter syndrome. And it really got me thinking, if these people who are incredibly high achievers are experiencing this, then most people, I would say, experience it, whether they actually have a definition and know that they are actually struggling with this or not.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Brenda, one of the reasons I was excited to have you back on is I was speaking in Minneapolis a few weeks ago, and I was done talking, and a guy comes up to me. This guy's a senior IT leader, company size 500 employees, and he says to me on the side, he said, "Rick, you seem really confident and, in what you're saying and upbeat and all that." He said, if I can ask you a question, he said, when I get into meetings, I'm not confident. I feel like I can't kind of express myself. I have all these self-doubts about what I'm going to say isn't important. And I think they're looking for me to step up and I just don't have it. And I asked the guy, have you ever heard of something called imposter syndrome, which you had introduced me to when you were on the show last time? And I think it's something, look, you've done a lot of work for our American friends, like the school that the MBA program that Brenda worked with is like the Harvard of Canada. And so these are elite, up and coming, already accomplished business people. And Brenda, I think the corporate world suffers more from this probably than most would think. And yet to bring someone like you in, a happiness officer, or to talk about imposter syndrome could be a little bit kind of too much exposure at the individual level, and they may not. So I wanted today to have you walk through kind of what it is so people could recognize it, because I don't think it's common speak enough yet. And then, why it happens, and some tools, if you would, for like how are people listening to say, you know what, I could be more confident. I need to be more. That's holding me back, Anyway, that's what I was looking forward to you sharing today.
Awesome. It really is a goal of mine to amplify the conversation around imposter syndrome and normalize it, that you're not alone. Most people, if not everybody, has experienced it at one point or another. And the way people experience it is not cookie cutter, right? Mm. Some people, it may come in the form of exactly what you had mentioned with the individual. It may come in the form of them showing up in a meeting and being afraid to speak out. It may manifest in a way that like over preparation, perfectionism, and then even in some self-sabotaging behaviors like procrastination is another classic example of how this manifests on sort of the dark side, or on the one end of the spectrum as well. When people start to experience those Sunday scaries, the Sunday evening, and it's like that pit in the stomach where you're just feeling so stressed about work. Often those are the types of things that when people are experiencing those things can actually lead to some significant mental health issues as well. Mm-hmm. did surprise me, and it shouldn't have now that I know what I know. It's all common sense to me now, but I've been able to do such a deep dive within this topic that senior leaders experience this. So when people get promotions, when they're in new roles, even when they're looking to maybe apply for a new role, joining a new organization, and even existing in a role that maybe they feel for whatever reason that they're in over their head. So this term is not new, actually, Rick, which is interesting. It actually got coined, just a quick 101. It's a term that got coined in the 70s, and it was a study on high achieving women. I do this because in the 70s, that's if you were a professional woman, I guess you were considered to be high achieving. And what they found was, despite overwhelming evidence to the contrary, many of these women had felt the self-doubt, this I'm in over my head. Who do I think I am? I'm going to get found out. All of these experienced all of these feelings and thoughts, despite overwhelming evidence to their success. Since then, there's a lot more research that's been done on this topic, and it. Let me be clear: this is not just something that impacts women, and actually, I believe it impacts men equally.
I would argue that it probably impacts men. I can't speak from a woman's perspective, but I know even myself, I've doubted things during my career, and it's held me back maybe at certain points. And I remember a hockey coach of mine at one time, he had a saying, throw your heart over the boards, your body will follow. In other words, just do it. But for some of us, we can't do that. And I would argue that men suffer from this equally as much because, the de facto standard was the man is the leader in too many corporate audiences. I'm a big fan. My mother was a female executive and she went through all these things. So anyway, what you're saying, I think, relates regardless of gender.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then in the context of, I assume most of your viewers, in the sales context, and for those that are probably new to putting themselves out there on social media, whether it's Instagram, the gram as I say it and my kids cringe, but LinkedIn and LinkedIn as well, that people, and I experience this personally as well, that people may feel a lot of hesitation, like, what will people think of me? Oh, my friends are going to laugh at me. I'm going to get made fun of.
What if it's a fail? What if it's a fail? Right?
That's it. Yeah, and that's the reframe of it. Exactly, Melissa. That's the reframe. It's getting yourself to a place of thinking that, first and foremost, you just can't be for everybody. I've learned that a long time ago, that you can't be all things to everybody.
Right.
But those people who are your people will gravitate towards you and find you. Some will, some won't, and so what? That's the 3 W's. Some will. So some will gravitate, some won't. So what? Go with the people that are your people.
And as you say that, you've come out, I think, a lot in the last, I would say, 6 months or, on social media. And we're doing a lot of work right now, believe it or not, just coaching people how to present themselves on social media under the guise of personal branding. And, what's really been an exploding demand for us is me coaching people how to shoot selfie videos, as basic as it is.
Yes.
And, I think it's this imposter syndrome thing that people think they can't do it. But when I look at you and what you've done, I mean, people, I think we measure ourselves by different standards than maybe sometimes others do. And that throws us off. Anyway, I think that you're doing what you preach and not just talking about it. So congrats on putting yourself out there.
And Rick, your comment earlier about throw your body over the boards, right? Throw yourself over the boards, your body will follow. That's the same as you coaching these people to produce their videos, put them up, just give it a try. And the more positive experiences you have, you'll do more of it. And then it just becomes second nature.
Absolutely. Action becomes proof points, and these proof points start to accumulate as a vote to the person, the professional, or the image that you want out there in the world as well. And I do think, though, there is a conversation that's missed in a lot of the coaching. And so I think this is an aspect that I feel like I differentiate in terms of how I approach the coaching and the training on this topic, is I tend to spend a lot of time on like the why, and really grounding why we experience this, because I believe the idea of naming it to tame it, so to speak, the concept of once you understand why something occurs, then you can actually start to, manipulate, master, and deal with it as well. So I'd love to kind of fire off a few of these reasons, just to sort of give your viewers a sense of why this may happen. I think first and foremost, it really stems from our genetic makeup, and many of your viewers may have already understand this concept of the idea, the idea that we're actually born and designed more so to survive. We're not actually, our natural default isn't to thrive. And this was kind of a bit of an aha, because I thought we're all God's creatures, whatever God or non-God we believe in, that we're special individuals and we're here for purpose, and we absolutely are. But our first and foremost predisposition in this world really comes down to survival and procreation. And so that has implications that we still carry with us today. Our previous versions of ourselves would have to preserve energy for hunting and gathering, and would, flee from a saber-toothed tiger, and need to preserve our energy. And so this created more of a binary reaction that we have in our brains of fight, basically flight or fight, is sort of the idea. And so even though we don't have to run away from saber-toothed tigers, we still deeply carry this with us. It's part of our genealogy. And so it's our default. And so that's the reason why we have so many of these unconscious, self-doubting thoughts that run through our brains at any given time that help to protect us. Don't put ourselves out there, right? Don't send off that email that might be a little bit risky. Don't say something in that meeting because, somebody might just shoot you down. It's this hesitation. So it's this, I would say, this tension between being the person that we really want to be, in the professional, and putting ourselves out there, but we're always held back because of our genetic predispositions.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So are there other whys? Like I know, I'm always, I'm in thrive mode myself all the time, but survives, obviously a fundamental. Is there another reason, Brenda, why people, get this in their head? And I'm saying in their head just because I think it is a mental kind of thing or a mindset. So.
Absolutely. I think there's a lot of experiences that we have in our lifetime that stack and accumulate. So our earlier childhood experiences, our family upbringing, our school experiences and friends, and the times maybe we got bullied as a child, or a teacher called you out. And then that even maybe earlier relationships that maybe you'd had that had an impact. That also, I guess, as we start to progress in our career, we may have worked for a terrible boss, right? That bullied, or a toxic work environment. Maybe got fired from a role at some point in time that we were just in over your head, or something kind of crappy just happened. And because, again, going back to my number one reason, our brain's so hardwired to attract to the negative, all these things stick, and they start to stack and start to subconsciously define who we are, and help to inform our thoughts, our emotions, our feelings, our actions, our words. And it's all this sort of, I guess, dynamic relationship between all of those things that start to shape how we, and exactly, Rick, to your point, our mindset and how we view the world.
Well, I can tell you, like, a lot of times, I think, I felt sometimes like people that I didn't think were as smart, or I didn't think maybe had the skill set, they actually succeeded over me because I held myself back. And in layman terms, this knucklehead would go ahead and get the opportunity just because it seemed like they were so, in layman terms, they were so stupid to think they could do it. They actually did it. And anyway, that's happened to me in hockey and business. And anyway, I'm relating totally what you do. And anyway, we're human. I don't know if there's tools or things or more wise as to what people can do to kind of move forward, because we all have had that self-doubt, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And there are. This is a good thing. I guess for a chief happiness officer right now, all I'm doing is speaking doom and gloom, but there is light
There's
at
a
the end
way
of the
out.
tunnel. There is a way out. There's this thing called neuroplasticity, and thank goodness you can teach an old dog new tricks.
Yes,
And
rewiring,
even young
right?
puppies.
Rewiring
Absolutely.
those brain centers to go this way as opposed to this way. And I think it goes back to what I said earlier, because I have done a lot of research on this myself, Brenda. So I love this conversation today. It's rewiring yourself, and it's those positive experiences. The more you do them, right, the easier
Absolutely.
it becomes,
Absolutely.
and then you don't you don't write that negative narrative, you write a new one. Is that
absolutely.
sort of the...
Oh, 100%, Melissa. For me, there are sort of two big camps of activities, because I get asked this quite often. Again, not one size fits all. It's not cookie cutter, and this is also seasonal. People experience it at different points of life, depending what's going on in their world. But I would say the two categories. One, it's this I call like low hanging fruit. The idea that a small hinge can move a big door. So these are little hacks that you could do and incorporate into your daily life. And I'll talk a little bit about a couple of those in a moment. And then there's the deeper work, right? There's the work that may require a lot more reflection and exploration, and likely coaching potentially, or hopefully not therapy. But there's sort of the two camps. And I sort of divvy it up into another few categories where, under the categories of energy, vitality, and health. And I loved your conversation with Adrian earlier, and he really spoke a lot about the energy, vitality, and health. And I feel that it always starts there. If you don't have your health, you don't have anything. But your body releases all these happy hormones when you move your body. So a silly little story. Even before I came on the show today, I didn't have time to get to the gym yet. So I have a little rebounder just off and I'm jumping up and looking silly and doing all these crazy things, but it's getting the body moving, and your body does release a lot of these happy hormones. But if you take care of yourself, you drink lots of water. I've got my water with my lemon. All these little teeny habits that you can do in a day. You exercise, maybe potentially meditate, you get some good sleep. That's the foundation. Your body is your foundation. So I think it's absolutely, I love, Melissa, you're taking a drink of water as I'm speaking. So I think that's where it starts. But Rick, to your point about mindset, it also helps to inform your mindset that you're a person who cares about themselves, and that you care about health and being your best self. And that sends a signal to your brain over and over again, and are proof points that help to kind of build out these confidence muscles as well. So first and foremost, I always say, when people ask me, Brenda, where do I start? I'm kind of in a cycle right now to say, energy, vitality, health, but move your body. Just start moving your body, I would say, first and foremost. And then a little bit more of the deeper work in terms of mindset. And so Adrian talked in the session you had with him before, but about the reframing and calibrating expectations. And so in the context of your audience, I would say sometimes if you're a new salesperson, there's a strong hesitancy to put your product out there. For me personally, my product is me. So there always has been a hesitancy to put myself out there as an individual. But the reframe is, if I hold back and I don't share my message about imposter syndrome, self-doubt, confidence, and how people can be a better life, I may be missing an opportunity to actually legitimately change lives and help people with what I believe is a really simple message and some simple, practical approaches.
People might think that taking care of your body is a basic thing, but if I ask most people, what do they do every morning? Do they have a routine that prioritizes their physical being? Most don't. And when I lost my corporate job and got into my own thing, one guy told me, he said, the best thing to do is keep a routine going and start working out, because if your body's strong, it's going to carry your mind with it. And I know it's a basic thing, but in business, what do we do in Canada, right? It's the Tim Hortons, it's rush in, it's the email, it's the this to that. And I just don't think we can operate at peak performance. Like, we're humans. So I'm with you. What else would be a good kind of tool thing for people to think about?
Well, I think on that note, Rick, I think having your 5 to Thrive might be a great approach for people to incorporate into their morning routines. I think morning routines are life-changing. What you do in the morning and how you start your day starts to build and shape how you approach the rest of your day, hopefully in a positive way if you have some good morning routines. So For me, on a good day, it absolutely starts with, a meditation, my gratitude journal. I take a big gulp of water. I move my body, and I make my bed. Very
What's
simple.
a gratitude journal? What's a gratitude journal? What's that?
That is Rick, I'm glad you asked because I love this. Keep going, Brenda.
All right. So gratitude journal. So, you don't need to overcomplicate this. Get just a blank notebook and write 5 things that you are thankful for. 5 experiences, 5 people, 5 things you ate. It can be the babyest little teeny thing. It doesn't matter. But what it's doing is it starts to train your brain to scan for the positive. And eventually, the more you do this, again, the neuroplasticity and the neural
pathways.
Thank you. Neural pathways start to fire up. They start again. You're building out these muscles within your brain. One hack within that is to write it down. So this morning I said I'm on the SMARKETING Show again, so that was mine. And then I took 30 seconds just to reflect about the last time I was on and what's changed with me and my business since then. So it really, I think, just again helps to shape how you approach the day. Making your bed, however, again, is such an easy thing to do. Your
but it
future
feels
self will
good.
thank you.
It feels good. It's organized.
Yeah, and your brain really can't differentiate between these small little baby accomplishments and these larger ones. And so it sends a great signal to your brain of accomplishment. And it's the idea that I made my bed, I can take on the world today. Is kind of the idea. You start with one accomplishment and it builds. There's a great YouTube video on it as well that speaks to it. A former sergeant that speaks about, because in the military, obviously that's a big part of their program as well.
Discipline, right?
Discipline.
It changes.
Yeah.
And the gratitude journal, something I read recently was, to your point, get up in the morning and write the 3 to 5 things you're thankful for. Doesn't matter how small they are or how big they are, but as you go, and keep this as a routine, they get bigger and they get better, and then do it at the end of the day.
Yes.
Right? Reflect on those good things, because we are so, like you said earlier today, we're so prone to go to the negative and write the negative. But we have so much to be thankful for. The fact that we're on here today, that we're breathing, that we all have jobs, right? I mean, there's just so much that we are to be grateful for, and it puts you in a good place.
And there's starting to be a lot more conversation around the evening and nighttime routines, and how putting all of these positive thoughts into your brain and how it starts to process in your sleep. I think we underestimate the power of sleep and what that actually does for us on so many different levels. And so I love that. And that's going to likely be the sort of next iteration of the research that I start to delve into on the nighttime routines.
Awesome.
So Brenda, I Melissa, in case you haven't picked up, she's overly positive all the time, everywhere, which is something
never
that
negative.
Really.
Don't ask my kids.
No, I respect that about her, and I get blamed, just so you know, whether it's in the household here or at work. Sometimes I'm too positive, I'm too optimistic. Like I always see the upside, right? I don't see the lions and saber-toothed tigers. I just see we're going to town today, but as we kind of head towards kind of summarizing what someone could do, I think there's a lot of people that, they just don't have a positive mindset and they're negative. And, they're listening right now going, hey, is there one thing that you think someone could do right away? And maybe it's the morning thing, and it's the, make your bed, do whatever. But you've worked with a lot of people, and I know through the network I have, you're working with elite people in elite positions in corporate and also in the educational sphere. But what's the main problem people have? And then what's something you would suggest they do immediately just to give it a try to get some momentum? And maybe you've already said it today, but like Rick, everybody seems to have 80% of this main problem. And then if they just tried to get this, they could get the wheels turning. And
to add to that, Rick, I think specifically, let's focus on, the as Rick said, the elite people, the sales people, especially as we're going into year end and there could be some pressures, et cetera. What is something someone could do right away?
Oh, goodness. So this falls under the small hinge that hopefully will move a big door. Absolutely. A lot of the people I work with, high pressure situations, let's face it, most people are so overworked, almost, and many people burnt out. A lot of the people I coach, unfortunately, are in toxic situations, have terrible bosses that just put these high pressure situations, and it feels like these individuals just can't do enough. And I can appreciate the mentality in the sales capacity and the sales world is, what have you done for me lately? And so it's probably very easy to get in your own head and feel like a failure every month, because everything's a clean slate pretty much for every month or every new season or every new cycle.
You got it. You got it.
So I one very tactical thing I would recommend is create what's called like a hype file. And so what that is it can be an email folder. That's probably the easiest way. Mine's called Awesomeness. And anytime you have an accomplishment, you get a great email from somebody, maybe you make a great sale, a compliment from somebody, just file it away. Just file it away in that hype file. Hopefully you take the time to actually read and process it. Many times you go, oh yeah, that's really good. And then it goes into the folder or you delete it. But if you actually, first and foremost, when you get it, like actually take a few seconds to go, okay, you know what? I got something going on here. I'm actually not as shitty as people think I am, or as I think myself, as I am myself. But then in those moments when you are feeling a little low, and maybe again towards the end of the year, going back into the hype and going, you know what? I had a fantastic first quarter. Wow, I really rocked this. And what are some of the things that I did? And then that's going to help, I think, propel you and hopefully give you a little bit more inspiration, motivation, and energy to finish out the year ahead. So that might be something that's very tactical on that people can incorporate. Of course, I'm a big fan of, sort of more of a holistic approach. I don't feel like there's always the hacks in life that really lead to happiness, but there are always a few things that you can start. I think that's a starting point and may get you on the journey of incorporating morning habits and moving your body and doing some deeper reflection work later on as well.
Well, thank you for sharing that. I think that's a practical thing we can do. And you're right. We gloss over so often, whether, even it's our team, we get a Google 5-star review because we built a new website. Hey, great. Now let's get on to this thing over here. And, you mentioned the toxic work environment. Okay. And, coming out of COVID, there's all kinds of different hybrid work scenes we're seeing right now, like pressure to get your butt back in the office. I'm working from home. I feel lost. I'm isolated. Like there's all these new dynamics. And, when I coached young kids playing hockey, they had this saying, and it was catch the kid doing something right. Right. And so often as a manager or leader, we're focused on the fire putting out. And I don't think, I don't think as an individual, you can be as happy as you can be. It is when you're working with other people that are positive and happy. And, I think some people, unfortunately, succumb to the environment and they don't make a change. And I think you're a product of your environment. Just me personally, I excel better with people that, want to go for it or positive. And they're not. And we try in our organization to get rid of the naysayers. It's just, it's like a hockey team. You got one bad defenseman, they'll beat them on that guy every time. And that's contagious as is positive. But hey, as a CHO, which you are, by the way, is that right? I haven't heard that handle yet.
Yep, CHO.
I think I'm going to change mine.
Yeah.
When you create your own company, you can call yourself whatever the heck you want.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Melissa would be the CVHO, the Chief Very Happy Officer. Anyway,
love it.
Hey,
I love it.
Brenda, thank you for joining us. Now, okay, our audience is corporate people, mostly business to business folks. I'm sitting here saying, hey, look, maybe some people on my team could use a boost. Give us a quick download of me, if you would, like what would be, like, how would you engage? Or what would they do? Like, what would be the scope kind of quickly to engage someone like you to come in and work with their individual or individuals on their team?
Absolutely. I would say I've got sort of two divisions, but in terms of B2B, that's my organizational happiness division. I offer up coaching and training packages, basically organizational happiness type of programming. And it stems from everything from imposter syndrome, building resiliency, battling burnout, and mastering your own self-care. And again, it's all for nothing if you don't build in great habits and you actually take action and optimize your time with some time management, time optimization tools as well. So I've got five marquee workshops that I offer, but always work very closely with the clients to customize based on what's going on with them, such as things like the hybrid working environment or acquisitions or multiple layoffs. There's a lot of things going on in the environment right now and in the market that are causing a lot of angst, anxiety, and causing people to, I guess, experience a lot more of the imposter syndrome as well.
You know, I asked because a lot of people right now are planning 2023 kickoffs, or they got events coming up. And I think, happiness isn't normally something an event planner would look for. But I am seeing, since you introduced me to imposter syndrome, like I'm starting to see more and more of it. And I don't think people are aware of it. And that's why I was really excited to have you on today. And congrats, by the way. I just think you're doing an awesome job with your business. I know you left a great position to go out on your own and pursue kind of what, you want to do. So that says a lot that you're doing what you say and not just saying it. And I love following you on LinkedIn. If you're not following her right now, check out Brenda on LinkedIn. She has some funny posts.
and educational posts
too. Loved having you on today, and we're cheering for you. So thanks again for joining us.
Yeah, thanks so much, Brenda. I'm happier now.
Amazing. Thanks so much for having me on here. Having me on. Ultimately it's my goal to help people, look forward to Mondays more, and having you two be able to help me spread the word is golden. So thanks, and have a great day.
I'll look for my email for your gratitude file.
Excellent.
The hype file.
It's coming.
Sorry, I apologize.
Gratitude file is good too, Rick. Gratitude's good.
Okay, sorry.
And you know what, Brenda? Hopefully we'll have you on for a 3-peat in the new year.
I love it.